and this was killifish habitat, and had Crinocycla, Serpentis tetras, small cichlids. Now it's all dried out, and we're on the highway. It's quite warm now. So I'm here with my friend Renan, and we've come to this point which I've explored a couple of times when it was full of water. And we came here hoping to collect water lilies, but it is completely dried out. It's been the driest wet season for a while. There's been no rain at all. And I think I've posted a video and photos of this place before, but the main plant here was Eleocharis, which you can see here. And in the wet season, there is nothing but Eleocharis and water lilies. In fact, we can find some lilies dried out here. So you can see that when I was here last time, there was about 3 feet of water, and you were able to snorkel. I was diving through here with the snorkel and the cameras, and now completely dried out. This is a depression that was created by extraction of clay during the road construction, which is next to us. And yeah, you can see Nymphea, Cara, tem ninféia pra pegar. A gente consegue tirar a caula. Ó, tem a... Look. Nymphaea bulb. Everywhere. Tem os bulbos, sim. So the amazing thing is that these bulbs, they can survive here. So in the dry season, the plants die back. The bulbs remain in the clay, sometimes really caked in. And as soon as the rain returns, they erupt forth. And lilies and other plants appear all over the grasslands and in depressions. Hina has found Helanthum tenellum. So again, you can see it's now going into its immersed form with the dry season taking hold. And let's see, Henan's got it there. Everywhere, bulbs, lily bulbs. So yeah, last time I was here, this was full of water, collected all sorts of killifish and other small fish. Lily flower. Esse Nymphaea Jamesonia.
Iptis loresentiana.
O quê?
Eu acho que é Iptis loresentianas aqui, ó.
Esse planta aí, ó?
É.
E esse Nymphaea é Jamesona?
É Jamesoniano. Tem caramujo também.
Tem muito caramujo. So I think the Nymphaea is Nymphaea Jamesoni. There's also members of the Polygonum family. Polygonicidae. It's here. The highway is just up there. Yeah. Cara, como muda os ambientes, né?
Sim. Você pode anexar o vídeo que você fez aqui cheio, mergulhado?
Sim, vou fazer.
Fica legal.
I'll add in some bits of underwater footage from this habitat. When I was here last time, you can see all the Elucaris here, just still damp. And yeah, loads of Nymphaea there. So there are a few poor fish trapped in the remaining pools of water. In fact, I bet they are killifish, some of them. Melanorivulus rossoi. Let's see. Pode ser o killifish e serrapinas. Serrapinas nematoros. Sadly, we didn't bring a net. But yeah, you can see in just a few centimeters of dwindling water, fish are swimming around. Eliocaris. And the Nymphaea. So this is how a lot of the plants survive the dry season and re-emerge in the wet season. Cara. So Renan was just telling me that in this place he's collected a plant which I have back home, managed to get via Aquasabi in Germany, which is Diodia CF Kunsai. And it's kind of cool to be in a habitat where from which you've got a plant. So you can see the depression here. And the last time I was here, I snorkeled up to these sunken branches over here. And there were interesting stem plants and what looked like a Sagittaria species, but it might have been a Helanthum, but it was really big. growing amongst the sunken branches. And I'm just wondering if we see any immersed growth of those plants at this time. It's kind of, this is the reality of this region, you know, the extremes of the dry and the wet season. But it's kind of hard to see a place that you swum through dried out like this. The other plant that Renan's mentioned, which I said to him, oh, I thought I saw some kind of rotala here. What's known as Rotala mexicana, or also Rotala araguaya. I've got a photo of what I thought was some kind of Rotala growing here, and I'll see if I can find that, stick it up on this thing. But yeah, I was snorkeling through this habitat, which is kind of crazy. And yeah, there were all these grass-like plants. Vamos lá dar uma olhada. It's interesting that in the dry season, the sort of swamp bed becomes habitat for other animals. You've got these holes here. You might have armadillos in there, snakes, lizards, small mammals. So loads and loads of these snail shells. Qual foi a espécie da caracol mesmo?
Pomacea lineata.
Pomacea lineata, these shells dotted all around. And the snails, they either get eaten by snail kites and other birds, or they dry out. Not very fun for them this time of year, but forms part of the ecosystem. Just searching for stem plants in their immersed form here. Huh. Yeah, last time I was here was, I think, in October, November 2020. It was full of water. The first time I came here, there was a lot of water. It's brilliant. Currently waiting for a paper to be published that I co-authored on the killifish that we collected here, Melanorivulus rossoi, and still waiting for the journal to publish that. But that's with my friend Douglas and my old professor Fernando. We're waiting for that to get published. I'm being eaten alive by small insects here. So yeah, it's really strange to be in this place where before I was swimming and snorkeling. But this is an interesting place because it's right on the division between the Paraná and the Paraguay basins. So you get an overlap of species, both fishes and plants, from each basin. So here you get fish from the Paraná basin and fish from the Paraguay basin. We're right on the line where normally you wouldn't find those species occurring together. And this is not within the Pantanal. We're still in sort of grassland habitat here. But this is what happens in the Pantanal as well. You get flooded meadows, flooded depressions, flooded grassland, and then erupts forth with loads of lilies, aquatic plants, fish come into it, caiman, crocodilians, terrapins, snakes, all sorts of things. And then in the dry season, disappears. But all that vegetation, all that organic material and all the animals that perish in the dry season, they go back into the soil and they sustain the kind of eruption of growth the following wet season. And all the grass vegetation you can see now, when that gets flooded, it dies and decays and rots down into the substrate, and that also fertilizes all the plants. All the energy goes back into the ecosystem. The problem is that now we're getting lots of these areas are being burned, deliberately burnt, to open for pasture and for agriculture. And so all that material that would break down in the wet season and provide habitat as well as food for an area for microorganisms which sustain larger animals, all that gets burnt to ash, and then the landscape floods and there's nothing to sustain the ecosystem. There's just ash. It's a desert. I've snorkeled through some places like that to the north of here in Aquidauana, and there's no fish because there's no leaf litter, there's no decaying grasses, so there's no microorganisms, so there's no birds to predate the fish. It's really depressing. E aí, Renan, o que você achou? O que você pegou lá?
Você tá falando inglês ou...
Oh, English, Portuguese, whatever you like.
Eu peguei rotala mexicana, eu acredito que seja, né?
So he thinks this is the immersed form of Rotala mexicana,
Araguaia.
or Araguaia. Caraquimas.
Mas eu não tenho certeza, não.
So, yeah. The march of progress. The roar of progress, perhaps. So this nymphea is still in flower, trying to flower, even though it's dried out. Lovely red leaves. I had these in my tanks when I was living here. And let's look at the immersed lily poking through the mud. Still trying to come through. This is the thing, if there was rain, say tomorrow, if it rained hard for a day, you get several inches of water here, and all these lilies would burst forth again and survive a bit longer and keep going, and that's the sort of strategy. We're wondering if this is a Hygrophila araguaia. The only real way to know is to, well, look at the flowers. There aren't any flowers right now. There's also these small green lilies, which I'm not sure which species they are. I have to consult my book. And then here's Persicaria, or Polygonum. We know the Persicaria Sao Paulo in the hobby. This is, you can see it's already got that lovely purplish sheen on the leaves. If I get out of the sun, you'll see it better. And underwater, that goes a lovely purple to pink colour. Here are some of the lily bulbs. You can see the dried out lilies here. But those bulbs, nice and safe in this hard, nutrient-rich clay, will emerge when the rains return. So here we have, well, I think Helanthus bolivianum, we think. Very similar to the quadricostatus, and I'm saying. Growing in its immersed form. But when the rains are here, it will be submerged. There's also Helanthus tenellum growing around. Whoop. It's a bit slippery, very thick, kind of heavy clay right now. And that will dry and harden as the dry season goes on till around December. I mean, it's only, what, early May now, mid-May. More lily bulbs. You can find them. That one's, you can feel by the weight of them if they are, that's a seed, if they're good or bad. So just to show you, I've just pulled out, I'll replant them, but I've just pulled out two nymphea, and these are sort of caked in mud, and give them a wash. You can see root systems there all fine. They haven't dried out completely, not yet. And, oh, fish. I'll replant these in a sec, but this is how they survive. The roots deep down in the clay where there's still some moisture, waiting for the rains to return. So I think this might be a tiny plantlet of Nymphea gardneriana, which is my favourite aquatic plant. And I just found it in one of these puddles here, and I'll replant it in a sec, but it was just, yeah, you can see where there's very small ones. Oh, there's Eleocharis mixed in here. And lots of insects right now, all trying to fly into my mouth. So here you go. I think this is Nymphea gardneriana, just sitting in the mud here. It's just in the top layer. Lovely little plant. You can see it surviving the sludge. Oop. Amazing. I'm always amazed at how these plants handle these conditions and then just come back to life in the rains. It's sort of Lazarus style. This is the Sagittaria that I found up in the tangled woods up there. And you look at it, you think, oh, there's a lily, but actually that's the leaf that goes up to the surface. And this was just in the soil here. Stick that in some nice damp clay somewhere. I think this is a Rotala mexicana, Araguaia. I mean, we say we think because identifying plants without being a professional botanist and having a lab. Not easy. You can see it's just this very dry top layer of soil. It has its roots, and there's more of it in here. Lovely. So here the Helanthum tenellum, just growing in the clay, and again, like everyone else, waiting for the rain to return. Dried up lilies everywhere, dried up lilies.